watching Local Edition. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Brad Pomerantz. Our guest is Catherine Allgor. She is a professor of history at the University of California at Riverside. I am so glad you're here because we're going to talk about something that so many people are talking about on the cover of national magazines, and that's the First Lady.
The First Lady.
Right now it's Michelle Obama, but let's go back in history briefly and talk to us about kind of the quintessential First Lady, the one who set the pattern.
Oh, that's Dolly Madison. Now, I have to give Martha Washington some props. She worked hard at it as well. But Dolly Madison, who was our First Lady right at the beginning of the 19th century, really set the pattern for all First Ladies.
Really?
Yes. For one thing, she took over the stewardship of the White House. And before her White House, there was no one single space where everyone in Washington, including members of government, their families, the locals, could all get together. And she became really famous for her parties.
Now, well, speaking of parties, we often eat Dolly Madison cakes. So talk to me about how those got her name, became her namesake.
Brad, I grew up in Philadelphia, so I know Dolly Madison ice cream and cakes and pies. Dolly Madison became so famous, not only in her lifetime, but afterwards, that, and this is a whole separate area of study, in the 19th century and the 20th century, she was sort of seized upon as an image of the quintessential American woman. So there's Dolly Madison cakes, there's hairpins, soap, dolls, cigarettes, all kinds of things.
Let's fast forward to Michelle Obama. And before we get to talk about her, I want to just say one thing. Our First Lady is black.
Yes, she is.
That is a stunning development. I mean, and it really hit me, like Barack Obama. Okay, we have a black, but we have a black First Lady.
Yes.
Talk to me about that.
Just an amazing sort of moment in history, and of course you and I are both younger than springtime, but still I'm not sure we ever would think about it. And part of that has to do that within the very sad history we have around African Americans in the United States, there's this sort of even sadder chapter around black women and stereotypes about them. And for Michelle Obama to be so accomplished, so educated, so amazing as a person, as a woman, as a black woman, it's like a gift.
And she has become, for better or for worse, a fashion icon.
Yes.
And what do you make of that? I mean, people talk about her arms.
Yes.
I mean, what do you think? Is that, is that subjugating her, or what's your
Brad,
sense?
this is where being a historian is a great comfort. I have to say that the fascination with the bodies of the rulers has a long history. And it's fascinating. So when George Washington became the first American president, the Republic was brand new. Nobody was sure it was going to work. Everybody was terribly worried about it. And they fastened on his body, on what he wore, how he stood, how he held himself. The same thing for Dolly Madison, who was a slightly different generation. There was the War of 1812. Again, people weren't certain what was going to happen. And they fastened themselves on this idea of looking at her body. So all I can say to Michelle Obama is, and she's in good company. Now, I do have to say something about the fashion thing.
Yes.
And I want you to feel okay about looking at fashion as long as it's political.
Okay.
So if it's Lindsay Lohan, you should be ashamed of yourself.
Interesting.
But politics, fashion has everything to do with one of the functions of the First Lady, which is to be what I call the charismatic figure. That is a larger-than-life figure for her husband's administration that imparts emotional and psychological messages to the nation.
Was Jackie Kennedy the First Lady who brought fashion into the First Lady's office?
I'm very sorry to tell you that it was Dolly Madison.
Oh, what? So she was?
Yes,
Interesting.
because part of what was going on in early America, and Jacqueline Bouvier Kennedy also played on this, is we have this fascination with aristocracy and almost this need for it to give ourselves a kind of sense of legitimacy. So Dolly Madison dressed as a queen, and so did Jackie. So it's going to be interesting to see what Michelle does.
We could talk forever and ever and ever. Come back. I am so enjoying this conversation. Thanks so much, Catherine.
Thank you.
For Charter's Local Edition, I'm Brad Pomerantz.